Old and busted, new hotness. Good afternoon and welcome to Turbo Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, then you don't know about my main PC, which is this sucker over here. This case and this setup has been, well, this case in particular has been with me now for, must be going over just over 3 years. And yeah, I obviously had to make some custom modifications to get some airflow through the damn thing, because I don't know who at Fantex thought it would be a good idea to make a solid metal front plate with 2 little vents on top and bottom, but it didn't work. Not very well. It's a good case beyond that though. Everything else in it was really nicely set up, dimensioning, cabling, you know, back panel stuff, Velcro, all the really nice stuff. Now, problem being with my build specifically is I really don't like fan curve. I have water cooling, so I don't hear the PC. That's why I have water cooling. So to get that sort of effect, you need a setup push-pull. And then because I like airflow and don't, like I say, really want to hear those fans ever, I went for a 280 mil. So there's 4 140s. I just strapped to the cooler. If I just take off the front panel over here, you'll see, there we go, the current setup, all its dust and glory. Yeah, so we've got fractals pulling in the front through Gumdia Shion 280R, and then all Fantex PHK fans in the internals, which are going to go into this case. I'm also not going to be using the 3 120mm RGBs that it comes with. Well, they are pretty decent fans. I've actually used this set from Cougar before. They are pretty good. They're not 5-year warranty fans like these guys are. So yeah, these are, I'm basically transplanting everything from this PC, well, from this case into this case, because it'll fit, which is nice. You can see it's a little bit taller than this case, which I quite like. So it's gonna let me put the radiator actually like point above the where it goes into the cooler, because I do like front mount much more than top mount. And if I wanted a top mount, actually not on this, I could, but there's a 360 up top here as well. So actually, now I see it is actually dimensioned for 280. Can I top mount here?
12 seconds later.
I could actually, there's actually enough space. I could actually top mount on this case as well, which is, so this is the thing, was I was looking for a case with a really long GPU dimension, because then I can maybe have the push-pull all on the inside. There is the option with this case to put it outside of that front bracket, between the front mesh and like in that portion over there, well, in the space at the front of here, I could put fans on that side like I've done with this sucker. But basically, this case dimensionally was very similar to this case, but it had full mesh. So no drilling of holes is going to be needed this time. And yeah, this thing is it's getting a little long on the tooth and a little bit, well, grubby. So old and busted, out, new hotness. Let's build a PC.
3 days later.
And here we have the finished product. And yes, you may have noticed while there's been some upgrades to the chassis, I've made some upgrades to my personal chassis. So I've had the building here for a couple of days, and I've, you know, had little gripes and that sort of stuff. I do like to try and use a product like as much as possible before I review, to make sure that, well, I don't miss anything out and not tell you about, you know, the complete experience of the case. So at 1,300 Rand, this thing is still exceptionally good value for money. And the reason for that is actually sitting right here in front of me. While I haven't used this fan kit, it is with some of their better fans, and these are a mixture between airflow and high pressure. You can always tell which is which, because an airflow fan will have less of a gradient on the actual blade. It'll be a little bit more open, and there'll probably be quite a lot more fins, or a higher fin count. That's generally going to be an air or a fan that's trying to push a lot of volume. It's not really good at pushing through radiators. Whereas this is a bit more of a hybrid type style, which is good for radiators and for normal airflow. And I actually much prefer it, because it, you know, mesh and that sort of stuff actually does impact your airflow, because it's still got to push through that metal. As much as there's like, you know, 80% of the space is open, the other 20% isn't. And you want to have a little bit of air pressure to be able to push through that. So the included fan kit can do that, and the included controller as well I've taken out to show you. It comes as such. There is the normal LED connected over here. I've connected mine to my reset switch because it is just a button at the end of the day. And like I said, I'm not really using this fan kit. But it comes with this controller built in, and on the controller are 6 addressable headers that then go out into one connector that then still daisy chains out from there. So if you are looking to add in extra RGB stuff, then they've made capacity for that, which is typically Cougar, I've found, is they're quite open to you know, interfacing with their kits as well. So you can use like other equipment with it, which is nice because they don't cut you off and limit you behind the brand. In the front panel as well was this magnetically removable mesh. The reason I don't have it in there is because, as you'll see, there's 2 140s in the front and then my radiator, and then 2 140s at the back of the radiator. So there's no way for me to put this in between. But the fact that I could do that and I could have it with as much spacing as I've got, you know, the 2070 Super Gaming X is not the shortest card. It's quite a big, long, thick boy, and it still almost disappears inside of this case because of all of that good dimensioning. So the front panel there can actually house 25mm thick fans, absolutely no problems. I would say it could probably even go up to about 30. I don't have anything that thick to test, but those fit super, super comfortably. There was absolutely no clearance issues. The only thing though is how they've set up the front panel is you can only put it in certain areas. The rails don't go all the way up and down. They only service like certain sections like that. So the very high mounted position was my intention anyway, but I was forced into it, which is not the best feeling. They've done it differently on the top though. So if you're looking at it for a top mount radiator, this is actually a really good case for that. You can see by the dimensioning inside, there's massive amounts of space between the top fans and the top of the motherboard. 360mm radiator support on top as well. So if you were to have a top mount radiator with a normal pull or push setup on there, then well, I would say in this instance you would want to push, right? You'll have the fans underneath there pushing through the radiator out the top, and then you can kind of remove that from your airflow impact. I like this kind of setup because the coldest point of your machine under operation is going to be right there at the bottom of the radiator, because that's the water cooling area. If you don't know how radiators and stuff work, basically those tubes that run up and down pump water through them, and then the fins actually are cooled down, and then that cools the water that's inside the channels, and then that's pumped around the system, and then that loop has its own thermal efficiency point. And basically the coldest points of it is always going to be at the bottom of the radiator, where it's the furthest from the inlet. To be able to use a 360 up front, you can do it and you can have a full push pull. You're just going to sacrifice those 3¼ inch drive bays, and I've got 2 drives that I need there, one for normal sort of storage and media and like old games and that kind of stuff, and things like Call of Duty, where I don't feel like absolutely destroying the space on my NVMe's. That goes onto there, and then I've got a backup drive which I obviously use for all of my media and, you know, all of the things we create and stuff. I keep it stored there, so we've always got a running backup. So I need those drives in there, so I can't really use a 360. But I really did like this top dimensioning, just making it that much thicker so that you can actually fit like a normal 27mm thick radiator in there with the fan kit, and there'll be ample room. I'd say you're probably still going to have about a 5mm space, or between at least 2 to 5 mils on top of the motherboard still. So all of those nice little holes and stuff they've got set up there for the fans and stuff to come through aren't going to be blocked. And speaking of nice little holes, I really do like all of the Garretts and stuff, and the fact that they've done a double Garrett system on the front right hand side of there. It is quite a lot nicer than not having it. Now the back panel is where the price of the case is really showing it's a bit more budget-esque environment, and also the materials for the case. They're not quite as good as some of the other cases, but the back panel is it's okay. It's got enough points and stuff that you can cable tie nicely. I've literally only used 2 cable ties in this entire system because I want to keep it light, so that if I am in there, which I will be probably in the next 2 to 3 months, to put in some sort of new graphics card or processor or something to that effect, I might need to, you know, change my cables or something to that effect. So to just cut those out and then edit from there. I didn't want to put in 17,000 cables. The back panel is still pretty neat, even with just the 2. And bearing in mind, this case has 7 fans inside of it right now. So normally you would say have 3 up front and sort of 3 pulling out the back like that, or even a 4th 120. So it's packed. It's got pretty much the max fan capacity that you would put in a case like this. The only real dimensioning detractor I have for this case though is actually the back cover panel over here. It doesn't fit with my GPU sag bracket for the MSI GPU because that's got like a plate that sits over the other plate, so you would have to remove the slot protectors over here in order to get that completely flat. So I'll just kind of leave it chilling on a side angle, but you can vertically mount the GPU. And something that's really nice that they've done here is how their quick release and stuff works. The 3.5 drives are a little bit more standard. They sort of just like bend open. You put the drive in and it clips in like that. There's little clips and stuff in there. Can be a bit of a braking hazard, but it's malleable enough that I wasn't too worried. The protector at the back of it is also quite nice, a little handle and everything it's got there. But that's not the highlight one for me. The highlight one for me are these little 2.5s up front here. I've left them in there purposefully so I can reference basically how they work. So there's a push button on the front of that, and that is actually a caddy that comes out completely from the device. And then the power supply shroud actually has 2 holes in the back over there, and then your cables and everything can sit through there for your 2.5s. But it's on, like I said, a quick release. There are 2 screws to hold it down there more permanently, but this is a little quick release out. Nice little touch to have there, but the most unique thing on this case. The front I/O is also pretty good though. It does have a 3.2 connection as well. This board doesn't have an out for that, but I've got the USB 3 hooked up and the audio hooked up, and that all works pretty seamlessly. And I must say, I really do like the power button. It's very large in the way that I would want it to be, so it's super easy to find if you aren't looking at the front of the case. You know, you're just doing a lazy hand up like that. It's very easy to find, and it does feel quite good. It's not like one of those push button ones that goes click clock. It's like, oh, I'll just do it for you now. Just give it just a little, it's like a little firm button. I do like the way that feels. Another nice little touch that they've put in here though are actual pads for the glass as well. The glass side panel is a slide on top, and so is the back panel. The back panel has got a little bit more like antiquated connections and stuff in it. I really don't like the way the back panel has been done. It makes it so that if the machine is standing upright, it's very difficult to get the back panel on. I was struggling with it for so long. I eventually just laid it down on my desk and put it on. And imagine, I do this actually quite a lot, and I generally don't struggle with these things. This one was a big struggle as far as that goes. In conclusion then, it's very good value for money. At 1,300 Rand retail price, Cougar's value here is very good. I think it's a detraction from their normal quality. I was a little bit disappointed, like I said, with some of the materials and stuff used in this. It doesn't give you massive like uber quality vibes, but at the price point I'm really not upset because the dimensioning is so good that I can put bigger and better equipment in here and not have to worry about, you know, spacing and stuff on the case. So final score time, I got to give it still a solid 8 out of 10. It would have been a 9 had the materials been a little bit better. The spacing and stuff is all pretty good. The included kit, you know, the fan kit, this is a solid 11 out of 10 at this sort of price point. Glass side panel is nice, power supply shroud is done nicely, back panel is sufficient, you know, at the price. Like I always come back to that is the price point, you know, magnetically attached stuff and nice filters and everything for air cooling builds, etc. Like it's well set up. It's got all the defaults that you would want to see. And at the price with the included kit, you know, it is very competitive. There's only one case that springs to mind that I would say is better than this, kind of like, but I also just like the way the front panel looks. I've always had a thing for things that are designed like that. The only thing that I really would like to implore you guys at Cougar to do is please stop with the gold on the front. Nobody likes it, not one person. Gaming PC person or otherwise that I've seen that sees that gold logo likes it. They like the logo, they just, the color is just, it's very gaudy. Please just make it silver or orange or something not gold. Gold just, it's a very specific color and it has to be used in a very specific way, and it just kind of makes like my DRGB stealth fighter, you know, kind of build here look a little bit, well, chintzy. Anywho, that's all I've got for you on this MX660 L RGB. Still very good bang for buck. If you have enjoyed this review though, please do hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side. So got blue rush me. This on my shirt properly. You know. that old chestnut of audio of actually being able to hear the tech review might be attractive to some.